Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to throw up our first quote, and I'm going to also put the full video, the interview, and the clip that we'll be talking about in the notes of the show here, just to make sure again that everyone else has that same context that you're talking about. But so I'll go ahead and read the quote here, so for at least for the first half, and I feel like this kind of sets the foundation of what we can talk about going forward. So. Uh, our quote here: For young people in America, there are very mixed messages from the culture. There's a streak of moralism in American life that extols the virtues of being grown up and having a family and being a responsible citizen. But there's also this sense of do what you want, gratify your appetites, because when I'm a corporation, appealing to the parts of you that are selfish and self centered and want to have fun all the time is the best way to sell you things. And so, to bring it to the context of some of the things that we've talked about with, thanks for the words, the millennial generation. I feel like this is particularly um, uh, poignant to people that grew up in the, you know, late 60s to the 90s of a whole, uh, not necessarily change in advertising, but certainly a more um, frequent amount of it, and then of course being on TV and a frequent amount of that, and then I'm sure we'll get even to like things like Facebook. But in your own personal life, how have you seen kind of advertising the machine of want, um, affect your own life as you've kind of gone from someone like a kid who's not responsible for your finances to someone with a job, a family, that responsibility that he's kind of talking about there.
Yeah, that's good. That's another good question. I guess I would kind of start by backtracking a few years. Actually, really in kind of the mid '90s to the early 2000s for me was kind of a time of cultural awakening. And I think maybe for you as well, just because of we came up in the same era.
Mm,
I was actually really big into George Carlin, and I think that
mm,
George Carlin. First off, my parents showed me a lot of stuff. My dad especially. My
uh-huh.
dad showed me a lot of things that I probably shouldn't have seen when at my age. I watched a lot of. I think my parents got me the movie Total Recall when I was like 7 years old. So I saw a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have seen at such a young age. But I do
Mm,
remember I watched a lot of George Carlin, and one of the big themes with him is advertising, is kind of this sort of idea of manufactured necessity, the things that they try to sell you, the
mm,
fear that they try to instill in you. And I think as you're growing up in this era, there's this kind of dare I say irony, because this is one of the things that David actually mentions throughout the interview, sort of the merits, but also kind of the downfalls of irony in our culture today. Um, there's kind of an irony in the way that the message of like be yourself, right? Or like do what makes you feel good. The
mm.
things that he talks about kind of later on. I might be spoiling a little bit actually, but
You're fine.
um, it there is that idea. Like we even see it in high school. I used to always feel like there was this. Um, it's a very maybe mixed messages is a way to put it. Like do it this way and this way and this way, Cornell notes, and then everything was like structured, but then at the same time be creative and be free and and do what you think, do what you really want to do. But then there's this idea of structure, and it's almost like they create this dichotomy. And now I might be in danger of putting words in David's mouth, but I kind of got the idea that it's like they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. But um, I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of rambled a
Yeah,
little bit there.
no.
Um,
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned George Carlin because he also
yeah.
kind of came up as I was, rewatching a lot of some of this stuff. that I think will definitely get to at some point with the irony and cynicism. Um, but to go back to the mixed messages, I think one of the things that he also talks about is those messages of something like Burger King or whoever it was with a slogan like "Break the rules." And
Mhm.
they don't really want you to break the rules. They want you to obey the
Right.
rules and to go and pay for your
Right.
hamburger and or have it your way.
I was just gonna say, have it
That
your way.
that
Yeah.
was the thing.
Yep.
Because you have to have it your way. Everything has to go your way. That's kind of the subtext of it.
Hmm.
But again, even the irony in that of uh, even today, I think most people who need some type of custom order know that that's even kind of a recent thing in fast food. So there's I know getting into the weeds of fast food changes is kind of odd, but
Yeah.
there's still this irony of you're not really getting it your way. It's what they have, what they're capable of doing in that moment. Um,
Yeah.
and but they all kind of just had that attitude, and I think that
Yeah.
was that. I don't want to have a recency bias of, oh, in the 80s and 90s watching TV, and this was really the first time this happened, because I don't know what it was like in the 60s and 70s in that real time. um,
Yeah.
but again, it felt like that there was, um, as uh, David talks about a lot, a saturation of TV, and you had an art form, the medium of which what people watched all the time, hours on end at a day, and was saturated with advertisement, just wall to
Hmm.
wall, to the point where advertisement making fun of advertisement, or TV making fun of TV, being self-deprecating in that way, kind of the meta of it, just became this overwhelming sense of irony. So I guess we can kind of get into some of the irony and the sarcasm. So to